We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Gervonta Tank Davis says, I don't see the hate, so what's the talk about? But I do. The growing hate and double standards for Gervonta Tank Davis, who is lit, comes off a sensational performance against Mario Barrios. Excellent fight. Let's talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Listen, if you love boxing, the sweet science, this is your one-stop shop for all your boxing needs. Consider hitting the like button. I invite you guys all to smash the like button. Let's get into the conversation. Now, Tank Davis, after his win with Mario Barrios, he says, I don't see the hate, so what's the talk about? Don't worry, Tank, I got this. Now, he got the shades on, so he's not seeing. He said he Ray Charles to the BS, but I see it, and I'm going to talk about it on my channel. So I posted this tweet. It says, it's funny, the same ones with old media that don't recognize Gervonta Davis as a champion because he has a secondary WBA belt had no problems with Canelo Alvarez when he fought Rocky Fielding to become a champion. And I will prove that in this here video. And Mario Barrios, unlike Rocky Fielding, I say, he actually showed up to fight. And he actually showed up to win, unlike Fielding. Fielding kind of, he looked like he just showed up or he was nowhere near the level, whatever the case was. I said the same people are also okay with Canelo Alvarez, Juan Francisco Gallo Estrada, and Lomachenko and Teofimo being WBC franchise champions instead of fighting the likes of Jamal Charlo, or Devin Haney. So we got to break some things down in this video. So let's get into it. Ring Magazine, owned by Golden Boy. Former Golden Boy fighter, Canelo, I was born ready, Alvarez. Payday, you won't payday, I know that. It says, this is Canelo Alvarez, who also fought for a WBA belt. The article written about Canelo, right, from Guadalajara, Mexico, says Canelo Alvarez looks to build his legacy starting against Rocky Fielding. So you'll be able to see a discerned difference between how certain fighters are treated and the literature written against them, right? It says next stop, Undisputed Ring Magazine over here in the corner. And this article, when he was about to fight Rocky Fielding, says he's building his legacy. But when Tank is fighting, I hear nothing but negativity. Canelo makes history. You see the WBA belts at the top. So December 16th, 2018, when this was published, Canelo beat Rocky Fielding. And it says when Canelo dethroned WBA super middleweight champion Rocky Fielding on Saturday, he became just the 5th champion to hold the WBA world title in 3 divisions and the first champion to accomplish the feat above featherweight. So this is the opening stanza. So it says he was just the 5th. So they put in a historical setting Canelo Alvarez, and it says Canelo's WBA triple, right? And Wilfredo Vasquez, Leo Games, right? Ioka, Nonito Donaire. So they're putting him amongst the greats. And this is the performance with a knockout. It was a 3rd round knockout. As I said, Rocky Fielding, this was an Eddie Hearn horrible fight from Rematch Room. And look at how the phrasing, look at how it's presented to you. Canelo's making history, right? No one's writing articles from the same culprits saying Canelo or Tank Davis is making history, but that's what they were saying for Canelo. Let's keep going. Canelo Alvarez stops Rocky Fielding in the 3rd round to earn 3rd weight class title, Associated Press, AP, a short and powerful fiesta. Alvarez landed dozens of body punches, knocking down Fielding 4 times, stopping him in the 3rd to earn, listen to the words, to earn his third title, which goes back to my tweet, right? Taking the WBA super middleweight belt, right? They didn't say this was like, oh, this is the WBA regular belt. It just says like he's a champion. So the reason why you got to be careful where you get the news and the information, because at the end of the day, there's agendas with certain people. And reading this article from the opening statement, there's no way for you to distinguish that Rocky Fielding was a regular champion, right? But when it comes to, in the case of Gervonta Davis, they are making, and there's multiple articles, and they are making sure you know that there's confusion and this is a secondary belt. But again, if you would have read this article, December 16, 2018, there's no indication that Rocky Fielding is not a true champion. But for a black fighter, an African-American fighter, kid from Baltimore, they are definitely making sure that you know that he don't have the real belt, and almost sound angry because Josh Taylor just fought for undisputed. Listen, Josh Taylor, he's a good fighter. Tank had more people at his weigh-in for Mario Barrios, who Lomachenko said, who is this Barrios? Lomachenko sold 2,000 tickets. You know, and I don't know how many they comped, but they had 2,000 people in attendance. Tank had 16,000 plus, right? And Lomachenko is saying, oh, who's this Barrios character? Well, somebody knows him because he was trending, which I got another video coming. Subscribe to the channel. Man, this is clearly the end for old media, because you can see when it comes to old media, the double standards are shocking. You know, instead of just saying, oh, Tank's a beast, he was getting off, Mario Barrios came to fight, great fight. It could just be that simple. But instead, you see stuff like this where certain media darlings, they frame it and put it and present it in front of the fans a certain way. Like I said, you read this Canelo article, there's no indication that Canelo's not a real deal champion. And this is intentional, right? Canelo Alvarez becomes a 3-division champion with third round TKO of Rocky Fielding, right? Once again, same situation. This particular sportingnews.com owned by DAZN, right? Where Canelo has been fighting. Canelo Alvarez becomes a 3-division champion with third round TKO of Rocky Fielding. So in 2018, that's the strap he won, the WBA strap, right? And you see, I told you they're owned by DAZN. That's why you see DAZN ads, right? So Canelo fought this fight on DAZN. Sporting News is owned by DAZN, you know, the Perform Group or whatever, or at least at the time when this article was up, right? And it says after spending much of his career fighting in the West Coast, he decided to move up to super middleweight New York debut to capture another title. Mission accomplished, yada, yada, yada. Taking his talents to the legendary Madison Square Garden. All jovial things, all good things. The bout with Fielding served as the first fight of Canelo's historic 5-year deal, right? So all of this, it said Fielding had, as he was a heavy betting underdog against the man who recently become the unified WBA super champion, right? Hold on, what is this saying? It was absolute savage display. Fielding, who had a 6-inch height advantage. See, they're telling you how tall. And the funny thing is the Tank fight with Barrios is very analogous to the Canelo situation. Both opponents, Mario Barrios was 6 inches taller than Tank. You've seen an inherent height difference between the two of them, right? Fielding was 6 inches taller. But as I said at the start of this video, one person really came to fight and fought like El Azteca. Rocky Fielding, not so much, right? But Canelo's the one being praised in the articles. That was literally the only advantage that Fielding had, heavy underdog who recently become the WBA super blah, blah, blah. Boom. Now, keep this in mind. So I just showed you this article, Canelo becomes a 3-division champion. No real mention that this was a secondary title, right? In fact, this particular article, as I just read to you, it says Fielding, who held a 6-inch height advantage, and it says he was an underdog. He recently became the unified WBA super champion, right? So this is what the article, you see it right there, WBA super. So we're going to look up our fact checks because they say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, fine. The article that's owned by DAZN is praising Canelo for beating Rocky Fielding, and they call him the unified WBA super champion, right? 2018, November, the fight took place early December. So I pulled it up for you guys. Super middleweight. Guess what? Oh, that's right. Rocky Fielding wasn't the super champion. It was Caleb Smith who won the World Boxing Super Series, who Canelo later defeated after getting out of his contract with Golden Boy. But that was years later. So at the time, Caleb Smith was the guy who knocked out Rocky Fielding before Canelo, and he was the super champion, meaning the regular champion was, you guessed it, Rocky Fielding. This article is incorrectly making it sound like Fielding was the super champion, which is inaccurate. Now let's get to Gervonta Tank Davis, shall we? So this is sporting news. I showed you different articles, right? Tank Davis fights a fighter for the regular champion, and as to separate from Josh Taylor, who's undisputed, people made, an attempt to make sure you know that Tank is not a real champion, right? Ring Magazine, Ringtv or whatever. It says a grave matter. Tank Davis, the WBA, in the imminent death of the authentic world title fights. Immediately from the headline, you could tell it's negativity. Saturday night, blah, blah, blah. Gervonta Davis scored impressive stoppage. And this basically, let me spare you guys. I'll put the link for this stuff in the description. But look at the quotes. We got to clean this sport of boxing up. This ish doesn't look good. Every fighter is a champion now. Blah, blah, blah. And it's basically finding a way to try to discount how lit Tank Davis is and separate him and inform the fans that he's not the real champion for beating an opponent who was 6 inches taller, showed tremendous heart, really came to fight. But as I showed you in those previous Canelo articles from old media, you don't see that same type of energy. Now, even more shocking, Canelo fought Rocky Fielding and people praised him. They said, oh, this is lit. Tank Davis at a younger age fought Mario Barrios, and they're like, oh, but Floyd said he's keeping in-house fights, right? Rocky Fielding, he didn't look ready for a Canelo fight. Mario Barrios showed that he's supposed to be at the top level, and in my opinion, had accomplished more. That fight with Akhmedov and Mario Barrios, I was at that fight, right? So let's continue, moving along. Just so you guys see, Caleb Smith at the time when Canelo fought Rocky Fielding, he could have just went and fought Caleb Smith, which is the super champion. But once again, notice when there's a black fighter that has the regular belt, this is where you see old media trip. I remember Danny Jacobs had the regular belt, the regular WBA, and Golovkin, Gennady Golovkin had the super champion belt. So all the articles were pinned to inform you that Danny Jacobs wasn't a real champion, and it was in fact Gennady Triple G Golovkin, right? Much like you're seeing with Tank Davis, a grave matter, and Tank Davis and the imminent death of authentic world fights. So basically a way that Ring Magazine, owned by Golden Boy, has found to negate what we've seen. At the very least, Tank is lit. The crowd was great. He had a nice packed crowd. The fight was fun. Everybody else is praising Tank. He doing backflips. Mario Barrios showed up to fight, but let's focus on the negative. Now, Golden Boy owned Ringtv.com. This is what they do to a fighter like Tank, African-American kid from Baltimore, young, 25, 26 years old. They had an article about Rocky Fielding, and guess what? They have blocked it. And it's the same writer. The same writer. You see that. Tom Gray. Right? Tom Gray, the same writer. So when he writes about Gervonta Tank Davis, it's all, we got to clean this sport up and this and that. Now, credit to Boxing Twitter. There's some good guys on Boxing Twitter. And luckily, they actually saved the screenshots. Look, there's a copy of it. It says a rocky road to glory. So the same writer is out here praising Rocky Fielding, and it says Canelo versus Rocky as the WBA champion, right? Shout out to Gervonta_Bay. Make sure you guys follow him. He posted the link too. Guess what? You try to go to the link, they've archived it and it's now hidden. These are the old media tricks. So after he got exposed on Boxing Twitter and the link started getting posted and circulated, like, hey, how did you praise Rocky Fielding? How did you praise Rocky Fielding? And then you're writing this about Tank, the same author, right? And then now all of a sudden the link, it says subscribe or log in, but no other article on Ring Magazine is making you do that, which lets me know that it's been blocked. Wow. All the other news is free. But as soon as this author got called out by Boxing Twitter, Gervonta_Bay, shout out to him. Now all of a sudden it's hidden, just like Tyson Fury. Look, I don't have to log in for any other article. Look, look, Eddie Hearn, you want me to click on that? Okay. I'll click on any other article and I could get to any other section. Tank bashing article, I'll get to that. What else y'all want me to click on? Anything else I click on is free access. But after this was called out in terms of the discrepancy and the double standard, now all of a sudden it's access denied. Come on, man. You know, Young Forensics, we got screenshots. Ringtv.com. See, you used to be able, this is more further proof for you guys. Ringtv.com, these are screenshots from that article that you can now no longer get to, you know. It says Fielding was the fighter that Canelo selected and the new super middleweight champion, didn't need to be asked twice. The new super middleweight champion. You see how Rocky Fielding, who nobody really rated except for the UK, it's not commonly referred to Rocky Fielding as a regular champion or trying to distinguish the difference. But again, when it's Tank Davis, it's like, let the world know that Mario Barrios had a secondary title and it is Josh Taylor. Yeah, that is the real champion. So I think I've made my point. You see a clear and dangerous double standard. Be careful where you get the information from. A lot of agendas in the sport of boxing. It says Canelo as challenger possesses solid advantages. The champion is bigger, stronger, and may have the edge in hitting power. So this writer was he's from the UK and he was giving the UK fighter Rocky Fielding a potential edge in hitting power, and he got destroyed by Canelo, another British fighter that lost to a fighter from other regions like Mexico, Hispanic fighter, or an American fighter. We've seen this many times recently. Andy Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua, a British fighter. You know, Josh Warrington, Josh Kelly lost, et cetera, right? James Tennyson. So it's funny how the literature changes. Rocky Fielding is talked up like he had some type of advantage over Canelo Alvarez when we know he's really didn't. But then when it comes to Mario Barrios, who actually put up a hell of a fight, it's like, let's distinguish the difference between Josh Taylor and Tank's belt and write all this, you know what I'm saying, 1,000 words or whatever this is to drive that point home. But when it comes to Canelo and Rocky Fielding, which was a far worse fight, anybody who watched the two will know that. You know, it's like, will Canelo claim a third title? And it's like building up the fight and making it look like Rocky Fielding had a chance. But in all actuality, Tank is lit. This fight didn't have the boxing world on fire. You know, Canelo's a great fighter, but this particular fight, people weren't thoroughly impressed. People gave Canelo more credit for Triple G or like Billy Joe Saunders even over the Rocky Fielding. This was just like almost a waste of people's time, like Avni Yildirim. So you guys see a direct and constant different handling for certain fighters. And oftentimes it's an American fighter. Oftentimes it's an African-American black fighter. Let me know how I did in this video. Share the video. Let's go. I welcome you to like the channel and hit the like button. Drop me a comment and let me know what you think. And if you see the double standard, if you don't, rewind this video and picture us rolling. Peace.